जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम सब भाइयों को बहनों को सबको अस्सलाम वालेकुम और बेटियों को सायमा सामने बैठी हैं तो और भी जो भी सुन रहे हैं brother Ajaz had asked me if I would like to talk on a subject, and of course on Quran there are so many subjects you can talk about which we consider as very important. Everybody has a point of view and everybody thinks that this is the most important. But for me, the most important is Siraat al-Mustaqeem, because without that, we are not going anywhere. So therefore I said I will talk about Siraat al-Mustaqeem. So if you can open this thing, I want to share my screen. Can I do that?
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल आप बताएं क्या
जी. Can you see the screen, please?
हाँ जी बिल्कुल स्क्रीन नजर आ रही है.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The very first surah of Quran is Surah Al-Fateha. And that is Fatiha in Arabic. Fatah is opening. The key with which we open the door in Arabic is called muftah. You open the door with a muftah. Fatiha is an opening. And Fatiha is way to open. So please do not disrupt me with any messages or anything, because then that my eyes go to that message and I will not be able to complete my talk the way I want to. Okay, so Surah Fatiha is the way which will open our ways. It is the way to open everything. And this is the very first surah of Quran, and it could not have been anywhere else. It is not that it was just by chance, it is by design. This is the very first surah. And I will not go into too much detail of this, but just to refer, the first four surahs are introduction of Allah, because these are the attributes. Allah has attributes of Rahman and Rahim, and all the praise which we explore, we come out with, is basically for Allah, who is Rabbul Alameen, who is nourisher of the whole universe. So he is also our nourisher, and his way of nourishment is through Rahman and Rahim. Therefore, the third verse is Rahman and Rahim. It means generally that to give nourishment to somebody on a continuous basis, as well as on when there is an emergent need. So Allah is giving us His Rahman as well as Rahim. Now, Malik Yawmuddin means that whenever, see, Deen is the way of life Allah has prescribed. Yom is a period. So when Allah's way, if we adopt that Allah's way of life, then He becomes the owner. If you do not follow Allah's way, then whoever is doing whatever you follow, then don't blame Allah that why these results are bad. I wanted to do this and I did not go. I was facing east and I reached west, because really you never wanted to go to east, you wanted to go to west. That's why you went there. So Malik Yawmuddin is when you will follow his way, then that period he will be the ruler. It's not only hereafter, it's also here. Then Iyaka Nabado wa Iyaka Nasta'in. That then man comes in. Here the man comes in. And man is telling God that I will obey you. And I fully depend on you. Iyaka Nabado wa Iyaka Nasta'in. So how I will obey you and how I will depend on you, this is number 6. And we say, Ahdana Siraat Mustaqeem. Oh God, we are saying that please guide us to your straight and balanced path, so that I will reach the Yawmuddin. I will reach the period when I will do everything by your rules. I will follow you. I depend on you. So please guide me to that Siraat al-Mustaqim. So the purpose, then number 7 is definition of that Siraat, that way, that Anamta Alahim, etc. Because that is the way of where you had your blessings on it. But that is definition of Siraat. But the only question in Surah Fatiha, this is the key to the whole problem, is Ahdana Siratul Mustaqim. Please guide me to the straight path. And this finishes, and then you come to the second surah. And immediately, absolutely on the dot, God says, Zalikul Kitab, La Raiba Fi, Hudar lil Muttaqin. You are asking for Siratul Mustaqim, and you said you depend on me and you will obey me. Okay, here you come. I'll tell you. This is the book. There's no doubt in this. With absolutely truth. There is absolutely nobody can touch it, nobody can add to it, nobody can deduct from it. God has given guarantees for its that this book will be always there in this form. This is from this has is a book, therefore there is a beginning and there is an end. You can't end and then add more things like most of our religious scholars say, oh no, this verse was there, and no, this was like this. There is nothing like this. There is a beginning and there is an end. And this is it. There's nothing more. But it says, Hudallil Muttaqin. This is a guidance for people who God has termed as Muttaqin. If you don't understand Muttaqin, you will not know who the guidance is for. We think that people born in a Muslim home will get guidance. No, sir. You think that I have a beard, I'll get guidance? No, sir. I'll go to Hajj and get guidance? No, sir. If I'll do 5 arkan or 50 arkan, I will do this tasbih and I'll do that and I'll become muttaqi and he will give me guidance? No, sir. He guides only muttaqin. He does not guide anybody else. So Huda is guidance. This is very important to understand that Quran, this kitab, is a book of guidance. It's not a book of laws. The difference between laws and guidance is the guidance is you should drive safely on the road, and therefore every country can make a law that you should drive on the right of the road or the left of the road. The guidance is valid. But if the law is you should drive on the left of the road, and if you say this is my everywhere I will drive on the left of the road and go to USA or go to another country with or in Kuwait which they drive on the right, you will have accidents. So laws get fixed, but hidayat, you have to use your intellect and you have to make laws based on that hidayat for that period, for that location. So there is no fixed laws forever and ever. The hadiyah or hada or the guidance is forever and ever. So God has given us in Quran guidance, and that guidance you have to adopt if you want to seek his help. And this is for those who are muttaqeen. So if you cannot understand what is the meaning of muttaqeen, again you will not get it because hadayat is for who? We think it is for me, or we think that it is for not for Christians and not for Jews, not for people without a beard, and not for this and whatever. But this is only for muttaqeen. So I'm going to, before I go to Siraat al-Mustaqim, I want to go a little bit 5 minutes on what is muttaqeen. See, taqwa, this is the basis of this word muttaqeen. The people who have taqwa, those are the muttaqeen. Now, taqwa has a root word called waw kaf ye, waw ka ya. This is the root for muttaqi. As you know, in Arabic language, every Arabic word has a root word. And then from that root word, you make different tenses. And all you make verbs from it, you make nouns from it, by different composition of that root. So the meaning of that root does not change. It is always there, no matter in what form you change it, the word. If you do present tense, past tense, proper noun, common noun, any way you transfer it, if it is the same, then that meaning stays built into that word. So the word, the most simple word of waw, kaf, ye is waki. Waki means to protect. If you protect something, that is called waki. Waqaya is prevention or preserving something. For example, in Kuwait, the area of hospital where there is preventive medicine or preventive health medicine, where you go, for example, your vaccines, that area, every hospital has Saha Waqaya. This is the area where you get protection. And we have seen in COVID, for example, right now, that if you don't have protection, you have nothing. Even the mask we are wearing is sort of short of that vaccine, but this is protection. So God has said that this guidance is for those people who want to protect themselves. If you don't protect yourself and you just want to go haywire here and there, you will not get God's guidance. Hidayah, you will not. First, you have to do preventive. So you have to be preventive. So tattaqun, from the verses, the way it is, who will do wakaya? Who will do tattaqun? Who will do wakaya? So this I have translated it to be cautious and follow. So taqwa is not only following Allah's laws, but do that cautiously, because this is built into the root of this word wakaya. Protection cannot happen, and or real protection or real follow-up of Allah's laws does not happen unless you do wakaya, because you have to be cautious, and that is tattaqun. For example, I have given two examples of verses here from Surah Baqarah. One is for qasas. God says there is life in following up if there is a crime, to follow it up, to make sure that justice is done. This is the meaning of lakum fi qasas. All the people who have intellect or who think about it, this is a way so that you become tattaqun. So if you will not do qasas, you will not become tattaqun, means you will not be cautious followers, and therefore this hadayat is not for you. Hadayat, to get God's guidance, you must follow. If there is a wrongdoing, you must correct it. And this is for all those people who think, ulul albab, la'allakum tattaqun. Similarly, we are all, Muslims, they know by their fasting always. Yes, they're fasting. It's a good thing to fast. But look at what God is saying. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. Oh, you say that we believe in you. Kutaba alaykum siyam. You have been ordained that you must have siyam. I will explain what siyam is. Kama kutaba ala min qablakum. Just as we had ordained this to people before you, la'allakum tattaqun, so that you become cautious followers. Now, Siam is also, Sama al-Furus means to hold the horse back. That is Sama al-Furus. And Siam means that you control yourself. You know that food is available in the house. Nobody is watching. I'm all alone. But because God said, Allah said, Ubed, these days you're not going to eat from morning till evening. And therefore, I am holding myself. I'm not going to eat. And this is the reason is that this such practice will make us tattakun, we will become muttaqin. So the purpose of Siam is not to keep you hungry. Purpose of Siam is not to give you credit. You get 30 credits for doing this, 20 credits, as our religious leaders say. It is for your betterment, so that you become la'allakum tattakun, so that you will get God's guidance. If people who are not doing taqwa will not get God's guidance, because this guidance is only for cautious followers who will always think the negative impact what it can happen. Like Parvez Sahib has explained in one of his dars, I think Hazrat Umar explained to people taqwa is to pass through a pakdandi, whatever they call it, कहते हैं, खारदार झाड़ियों में से गुजरना, to protect yourself, not get entangled into the things which will withdraw you from your right path. Don't get entangled in the way. Keep your eyes on your destination and keep on walking. Okay, now I'm going to present to you 3 verses of Quran which will tell you what is Siraat Mustaqeem. And once I finish this, you will know why I have emphasized that God's guidance is for muttaqis, and those are what is the meaning of cautious and then follow. In Surah Anam, God has briefly described what you should do and what you should not do, like do's and don'ts. Basically, what Quran's whole, of course, the whole Quran is there. It has other aspects as well, but this is where the juice of the matter is. And I have done English translation also for everybody who can follow it later on. So God says, proclaim. Qul in Arabic, wherever it says proclaim, it says, Qul ta'alu, atlu maharram rabbakum alaykum. Come forward and follow what your nourisher has described to you. La tashriku bihi shay'a. Do not share his domain. That shirk means to share Allah's domain with anyone else. Shirk is not going to a mandir or going to a peer, that this is shirk and everything else what we do is not shirk. No. Where God has said, Allah has told us something, and we listen to a hadith or listen to a Maulvi or listen to somebody else, and we start saying, no, 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 it is not like this. This is what Prophet Muhammad had explained 200 years later, recorded, that this is what you should do. No, that becomes shirk, because to share, sharik is a partnership. Companies are called sharaka. Pakistan, Urdu also, you say, uska sharik hai, means it is his partner. So this is sharing Allah's domain, means that whatever he says, do not follow others in addition to him. You have to purely follow him. وَبِالْوَالْدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. You are responsible for fulfilling your parents' needs and thus restore their balance as they were. Ihsanan is from Husn. Husn is a balance. Hasana is to balance. So if your parents have problem with their balance, that could be they need health service, they need company, they need love, they need money, they need whatever taken care of, that will restore their balance as they were. That is what you should provide. If you just send money to your parents and do nothing else for them, that is not hasana. Hasana, you have to do every aspect of life. And immediately God has reminded you, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُم مِّنْ إِمْلَاقٍ نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُكُمْ وَإِيَّاهُمْ. God says, do not kill your children. Now, killing in Arabic, the word taqtalut, qatala doesn't necessarily mean to murder somebody. Qatala also means to liquidate somebody, to make him ineffective. If you make somebody render ineffective, that is also qatala. So do not kill children or ignore and render them underdeveloped because you are too busy with your thing and the children are on the street or not being educated correctly or not being trained. You are too busy earning money or whatever. So God says, or you are trying to do things for yourself out of poverty, that you may be thinking that why should I send my child to school? I will lose money. So let him go and sit on the street. All these crimes in Pakistan, which you see, are happening because there's nobody. The parents are producing children and putting them out on the street. So that is absolutely not allowed. And we provide for you and for them. So the provision is for them. So you have to distribute it correctly. Of course, the society has to work on this as well. It is not only individuals, because they may have some limitations, but the society has to come forward to make sure that the children don't stay underdeveloped because of the lack of funds or poverty. That is not, I mean, you can't even go on to become Islamic society if your children are on the street begging or are being ignored. So third thing he says, or fourth thing, okay, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ. Do not, now see, qatala again is not necessarily to murder somebody. It means uh, do not go near excessiveness and go beyond limits. This is, no, sorry, this is the other verse. This one is starting from here, sorry. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا فَحَائِشَ مَا زَهَرَ مِنْهَا وَمَا بَطَنَ. See, fahash in Arabic is not, we say fahashi means he's doing, like illegal sex and things like this. No. Fahasha is excessiveness. It could be in anything. It could be in your relations, like male-female relation. It is going out of the limit. That is also anything that goes beyond limits. It could be morality or being miserly. For example, you don't want to share your money with needy, and you become miserly. That is also meaning of fahish or any such other matter. These acts could be obvious or apparent or concealed. It doesn't have to be visible that it is doing visibly something. You may conceal it, but Allah knows, and that has impact on yourself and your personality, and you cannot get hadayah from God because that is something which you have to do to go on Siraat al-Mustaqeem. Do not kill any human being, as killing is forbidden by Allah, except where legally allowed. This was the last verse. So, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ, so that you may use your intellect. God says you should do these 5 things, and this is the way to go forward. Then he says in 152, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ, and do not go near any orphan's property for the purpose of misuse, except in a way that is the best interest of the orphan, such as taking care of the property. This should be until the orphan reaches maturity. لا تقربوا مع اليتيم حتى هي أحسن حتى يبلغ أشده, full maturity. وأوفوا الكيل وميزان بالقسط, and give full measure and weight in justice, and do not burden anyone except according to person's capacity. See, in Islam, justice doesn't mean that you go beyond his capacity. That's why there are other verses of Quran, time is not enough, which said, Adal wa Ahsan. Oh, Allah is asking you to do Adal wa Ahsan. When you do justice, you must also think of somebody's needs. Don't do justice means that you will cut his hand and then his family has nobody to take care of them. And I just want to mention that I was in Japan some many years ago, and I had an introductory lecture by the company I was visiting about 20 years ago. And they said in Japan, the punishment is not done by the judge, but a social worker and a psychiatrist. And he says many times for the same crime, they will give punishment to somebody and otherwise not, because if they think that the needs are there, that this should keep on working, they will give him controlled work, but they will not put him in jail. So that is what Adal and Ahsan is. And I have something more about it also, but I am not, because otherwise I'll run short of time. So that is what God wants, that you should not give more than the person capacity, how much he can absorb that. And then, okay, where is qultum fa'adalu? I mean, if you're asked to give, and when you testify, when you're asked to give evidence or testify, to fa'adalu, then you should be just. Walokana zakurba. He says, even if it concerns a near one, if your brother or sister or parents or children or anybody, if you have to give evidence, you must be correct because you are giving this for Allah. Okay, that is bahadallah. So this is you fulfill your commitments to Allah. Zalakum wasakum bahi la'allakum tazakkarum. This is the same verse as was there before. Zalika wasakum wasiyat. This is the what God. It's the will of Allah means it is what God has ordained for you. This is a way to emphasize. So the God has word used wasiya bahi la'allakum taqilun, so that you may think. And here he says la'allakum tazakkarun, so that you may remember. So these are the three. Otherwise, then he says, "Wa anna hada sarati mustaqima," and indeed, this is my saratul mustaqim. Remember, you are asking me, "Ahdana saratul mustaqim." So this is my saratul mustaqim, meaning that living a life according to guidance of Allah is the saratul mustaqim. Surat al-Mustaqim is, with due respect to all, is not saying kalma or saying tasbih or saying namaz. Those are organizational things which help organize a society. But that is not Surat al-Mustaqim. This is Surat al-Mustaqim, to live justly according to Allah's guidance, not sharing with Allah's domain anybody else, to make sure that whatever Allah has said, here Allah has pointed 9 points. In Quran, this Sirat al-Mustaqim has been used elsewhere also in few places, isolated places, not comprehensively like this, but they're all leading to this same message, that how we live our life according to laws of Allah, according to His guidance. I'm using the word law also, but that's not correct. According to His guidance, that is the way for Sirat al-Mustaqim. Because if you are not following that, then that is not Sirat al-Mustaqim. So he says then, "Inna hada sarati mustaqima fatbahu," and this is indeed my straight and balanced path. You should follow it. Wala tatabaw al-subul fatafarrak bakum. Don't follow secondary ways that will separate you from his ways. See, if you go here and there and not follow what he has told you, and you say, no, I know what I'm doing. No, I have seen this before, and I will do this way and that way. God said, don't follow miscellaneous ways. This will take you away from Allah. This will take you away from God. So here Allah said, Zalakum wasakum bahib la'allakum tattakun. All this God has explained to you so that, and wasiyat, again, the word same is used. God is willing you this, so that you become muttaqi, la'allakum tattaqun. So, in a way, these are related. This one, which God said, this is for muttaqin, because His Sirat al-Mustaqim requires you to do all this, and these are only possible for cautious follower. It will not happen if you are not a cautious follower. This is Allah's will for you, so that you may become His cautious followers. So if we are not cautious, we will not achieve this. if we don't live our life according to the basic tenets which God has described, see, we are not talking about rituals. We are talking about the ways life should be lived by. Now, for example, in America, there's a Fifth Amendment. You cannot incriminate yourself. Why not? If you have done something wrong, why can't you say that, yes, I have done something wrong? There's no such thing as Fifth Amendment or First Amendment. This is for everybody to follow according to uh, being cautious followers. And that is this 153 of Surah Al-Nam clearly says, Anna hada sarati mustaqima. This is my most balanced and right path. And that is what you should follow. And this is how you'll go forward. And as a matter of fact, I have some additional references here. If you go to Quran, there are, I have listed here about 10 or 12 verses. Every prophet of Allah, God says for Nuh alayhi salam, he's telling his nation, Afala tattaqun, why don't you be cautious followers? And he tells the same thing to Hud alayhi salam, to Saleh alayhi salam, to Lut alayhi salam, to Shuaib alayhi salam, and this is from Surah Al-Yas alayhi salam. Everybody God has said, they told the Qawm, why don't you be cautious followers? Why you make decisions yourself? Why don't you be careful when you make your decisions? Why you get stuck in the wrong paths or in the wrong ways? And this is something which, you know, you have to understand also that tattakun and the word, for example, muttaqeen, like here it is used. When muttaqeen, if you look at Quran has always used this in plural because you can't singularly, you can't become, because this has to do with life. There is no single muttaqi. Always the whole Quran has used the tense of plural whenever God is talking about, Allah is talking about muttaqeen. And that is what I understood Siraat al-Mustaqeem to be. And when you asked me you want to talk about something, because for me, if you will follow, if you understand Siraat al-Mustaqeem, and you will, when you read the Quran, you know what I'm looking for. And that what you should do. Of course, all this can be done by individuals themselves. For to be just with others, to take care of my parents or to take care of my children, I can do it. Of course, the society should be run on the same line, and we have to formulate a society because that is the only way you can formulate the deen. The deen way of life is not one man, it is interaction between people. So that only can come later on, but individually, when we have to follow, we must follow. So when you read the Quran, I would say you should always be lookout for where Allah is talking to you as individuals and collectively. Whatever all this is can be done individually. Of course, it will not give you the result in this world because this world we have interdependent, but at least you will not cross the limits which God has set for you, and therefore you hope that in hereafter God will say that yes, this guy has done the correct thing in his life and try to do himself on a straight path. So this is my understanding. So thank you very much for listening patiently, and I will now leave it for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Very good.
So thank you very much, and beautifully explained. Lot of learning. Thank you.
So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Okay.
Yeah, was very well done. That's great.
Thank you, Ubed Saab. That was lovely, very informative.
Thank you.
And I think my children enjoyed it very much because it was in English.
You're very welcome.
Ijaz sir, we cannot hear you because you are on mute. Ijaz sir, we can't hear you. I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear you.
I didn't hear it.
जी sorry जी sorry मैं इसको repeat कर देता हूँ. Thank you very much Ubed bhai, and I was absolutely engrossed. I made a one page of lovely comments, and thank you for explaining the difference between guidance and laws. I think that was excellent right at the beginning.
Very good.
Thank you very much, Ubed Saab. You have covered almost all the Siraat Mustaqeem and all references, all relevant references. Thank you very much. It was very good lecture.
So now we will invite questions, clarifications, anything. Let's stick to clarification and questions rather than comments. You know, because I would like that we have maximum number of questions which people might have rising in their mind, which they can ask. Now I will start it from myself so that others can then follow. That was excellent. You said that muttaqi has to be, you know, it is used as a plural. Now, when we say that individually, obviously in a system of deen, individual is equally important, and when they come together, how do you see this working together, let's say in a future system of deen? I don't expect a detailed answer, just a quick.
No, the thing is, if you have individuals who are trying to follow Siraat al-Mustaqeem, and when the individuals get together, they will form the correct path. If you are followers of trying to follow Siraat al-Mustaqeem, and there is somebody who is adamant of being mushrik, and he thinks that that is the correct Islam, because this Maulvi said this, or this Peer said this, or whatever, you cannot have a gathering of like-minded people, because you cannot compromise on Siraat al-Mustaqeem. People who don't want to follow Siraat al-Mustaqeem, then you really have nothing in common, and you cannot build a society. Then you go to democratic society where Trump becomes the president. So that is the only other alternative you have. But you cannot do an Islamic society unless there are people who are willing to say that, yes, we want Siraat al-Mustaqeem.
But sorry, any other question, please?
Yeah. There is word ijtihad, and then there is Siraat Mustaqeem. It appears that Siraat Mustaqeem is just a narrow line, whereas ijtihad means this is something broad or decision making. So any link between Siraat Mustaqeem, the law, the guidance, and ijtihad. Ijtihad means?
Siraat al-Mustaqeem, see, we have asked Allah to give us Siraat al-Mustaqeem. We have not asked Allah to give us ijtihad. But Allah said, I will give you guidance. Now, the ijtihad will come where you want to adopt to the current situation His guidance. Then you have to think, because God says this is for people who think. So we have to think how to apply Allah's guidance. Allah's guidance in 20th century or 21st century or in 14th century or in 7th century will be applied differently. So if they did something on 7th century, does not mean, and that was God's way to Siraat al-Mustaqeem. The same thing, if you do it today, it will be Gumrahi. It will take you astray, because the situation has changed. The lifestyle has changed. So ijtihad is secondary, and it has to be applied as you move forward in the society. and it could be applied differently in different countries because their lifestyle is different, their economy may be different, it may be based on different parameters. So it cannot be the same way everywhere.
Very good.
Nothing why. Yes, yes.
I think why you wanted to ask a question.
I have a comment actually that the talk was very good and very comprehensive and absolutely no dispute there. My point is that we have limited time in this lifetime, and we cannot wait for a society to do good. As individuals, at every moment, at any moment, every day, we have to be muttaqi. We have to be cautious, and we cannot wait for conditions to be right to have the society and then follow. So each action that I do every day, I have to keep this in mind, and we have to be conscious of it all the time.
I agree.
Regardless.
100%. Everybody has to be, the thing is, when we pray to Allah, the Ahdana Siratul Mustaqeem, that Ubed is saying to Allah. And Allah say, Ubed, this is my guidance to you. And this is how you should achieve Siratul Mustaqeem. So that is a message to individual as well as collectively. So the first, I have to take the first step. Not necessarily I say, nee, Dr. Hamid Mia should have taken the first step. Why should I do that? No. I have to take the first step. Everybody has to take the first step. That's how.
Exactly.
Any other? Just a quick, I shouldn't ask the second question being the host.
Can I ask a question?
Ji, yes.
Ji, you mentioned a very nice talk. You mentioned 6:151. It says that the verse talks about we need to look after our parents, not just financially, but also emotionally as well. But how far does that go to looking after our siblings, for example, if the parents are not able to do so, according to your understanding?
No, you should take care of siblings as well. The thing is, sky is the limit. You should take care of everybody who is in need. But elsewhere, God says that, like charity begins at home. There's a verse in Quran that, when they say kurba, zi kurba doesn't mean necessarily parents, but also the near ones. So near ones could be siblings also. So definitely, it's not that, oh, God said only take care of parents. See, these two verses I had taken, it's a comprehensively, God has given some guidance and said, this is Siratul Mustaqeem. And it is not the only thing you should do, because there are other verses of Quran that says that you should take care of your neighbor, or Ahl Sabil also. So all this is necessary, but this is, you can say, this is the top order. But there is an additional thing. You must definitely take care of siblings as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? How do you, Bhai, you have been a lifelong member of Tulu Islam, rather the patron of Tulu Islam. How do you see Tulu Islam and Siraat al-Mustaqeem, and should we say all of us who are striving to be muttaqi? How do you see it developing, and what efforts should we make?
I think, frankly speaking, I'll tell you honestly, Tulu Islam, the biggest thing which has given us is the clear understanding of the Quran. Our ability, we have been guided to challenge the current understanding, and we have been guided where we can get the right answers. That is in the Quran. And that is based, you cannot make just anything which somebody says. If you look at 20 translations in a book, all of them are basically one translation, and they're adoptions of those. So they will all be not correct, because they really, really are not addressing the prime issue, that the Quran is in Arabic and it's a guidance. So if for example, Prophet guided somebody in a certain way, but in today's world, the needs are different, So we have to guide them differently. So my issue is that Islam has brought us to focus that please look at the Quran. And Farid Sahib has given, for example, Lughat al-Quran, which is the greatest work anybody could have done. So you can do research on words and then you can take it beyond. I'm fortunate, I'm living in an Arab country for 45 years now. And I had some knowledge of Arabic grammar before I came here. I studied some Arabic in the school days. So it has helped me understand Quran better than, for example, others who did not get Arabic language exposure that much. But of course, you can learn Arabic anytime and anywhere. But the thing is, if you learn Arabic from a mullah who's trying to say teach you, they say Quran, but actually he's trying to put his version on you. So that is difficult. If you want to learn Arabic, you should learn in a classroom where Arabic is taught as a language. Then you can read Quran, and then you will understand it better, in my opinion.
I have a question. We
Yes,
understand clearly regarding your parents. How would one go about, this is quite common, because we live in joint families, say a young lady marries, goes into in-laws home with her husband. What are her responsibilities jointly with her husband due to her husband's parents? If you could please put some light on it.
Because these are social problems. I mean, I would say that if she is married with a husband, then she has to take care of the husband's family as well. So this is, if you're living in a joint family, she cannot say, no, you are my husband, I'm with you, but I'm not with your parents. No. But the husband parent should also be reasonable that has come from abroad and not be too demanding, khati ho jao, baith jao. No. But you clap with two hands. So she should also feel the responsibility. If she did not know that the parents are there, that's something else. But if she knew before she got married that his parents are living with him, she should have seen that this impact will happen. But this is a social problem, and they should find a middle ground somewhere. That's how I would say.
Thank you.
Hamid Mia, aapne, Dr. Sabah, you want to ask some question?
Hamid Saab
Yeah,
muskura raha hai.
I understand everything. The issue is what we are missing, I believe. People who have understanding, people of understanding, when they understand Quran demands in such a way that it has to become our responsibility, people who understood, to come together. And you see, he says, Fadkhuli fi ibadi wadkhuli jannati. Okay, if you want such a society, if you want such a system, because your abilities, your khudi will never develop until you have that system. System develops your whole personality. We can, initial stage is definitely we develop ourselves individually to understand, to learn knowledge. But gradually, once we get to the point where we sit together and say, how should we do it now? So that's the point where we should be forced towards building a system where everybody develops.
Yes.
That's
that is the ultimate
ultimate
goal.
point. Yeah.
Yes.
Goal is that. Goal is not just to our salvation is okay. I'm not saying whoever, it's all depend on your abilities. So if we have higher abilities, I think we should come to a platform where we should say, this is the time, let's do something. So that is my understanding to get higher.
Yeah, I know, but we are too far away from each other and we live in different set of rules.
Yeah.
For example, you know.
Well, they say in the Quran that Ibrahim was in Mesopotamia, but if you don't have a certain fertile environment, you should migrate to a place where it can be developed.
Yes.
So it's given all the responsibilities in the Quran. It cannot leave you alone. It has no way. He doesn't give you no.
I know, no. I'm not trying to walk away from this. I realize that, but the thing is, there is always limitation.
Even if it says, let's say Imran Khan develops a Medina society in Pakistan, it becomes our responsibility first to go there
and to support him as a minimum.
Not even sport. Not even sport. If it develops the society, then you should migrate to that society. Because if you want to build yourself,
Can I make a comment?
I'll just to cheer up everyone. We have migrated to Zoom now, so should we call it a migration?
I'll tell you, Dr. Ajaz, listen, if this was not Zoom, it will not be possible to talk to all of you like this so freely and so frankly. I mean, how many times we can write letters to each other? How many times you can call people individually? So this was not possible. So Zoom has.
So COVID-19 is a blessing, inverted commas.
Yes.
जी आरिफ भाई आपने एक अमजद भाई है उन्होंने हाथ किया हुआ लेकिन आरिफ भाई आप कर ले फिर मैं उनको
just a brief comment to what Hamid Mia Saab was saying and then Ubed bhai responded. I mean, I don't want to make a big topic out of it, but honestly speaking, I look at it our current life, and Hamid Saab, that's what I was trying to say. We are in Makki life. The Makki time which Rasulullah had, which was only 13 years, as far as the Islamic history is concerned. But in today's world, it can extend beyond that. It'll be decades. It could be centuries. I don't know. But you have to be careful, I think, to further to what Ubed bhai said, we have to be careful when it is the time of the so-called migration which Rasulullah did to Medina. That time is not here. Just because in this complex world, one place somebody collects a few people and say, okay, now I'm declaring an Islamic state here, so let's all migrate there. No, we are not at that point yet. The current situation in the world, the way it's progressing, the way the technology is, the politics, it's like a vastly different environment as compared to what Makki and Madani life was. At that time, Rasulullah decided that this is time now to migrate, and then he established the Islamic State. We are absolutely nowhere near in that scale. So we just have to be careful and cautious that we don't harm ourselves, end up having a bad life for the whole family, and jump
that's
to it.
What Muttaqi is, cautious. Cautious followers.
We have to stay cautious. So the spirit is good, but implementation will take more time than we really desire. I would wish that there was Islamic State somewhere and I just go there and live in that wonderful state, but ain't happening right now. So we have to be cautious and just wait and take patience. But anyway, I don't want to take too much time.
No. Cautious and keep on working in that direction.
Absolutely. Keep on working.
Anyway, Amjad Saab, ask Amjad Saab to ask.
Amjad bhai, आपने कोई वो हाथ खड़ा किया, आप पूछ लें कोई सवाल.
Yeah, so no, thank you for the talk. I found it very, very helpful. My quick question was, in the beginning, you mentioned about, I think it's about, is it shirk, where you are introducing somebody else's law with Allah's law. It's not about going to temples. Yeah, about the shirk. It's a lot of time, I mean, my understanding, the concept is also means about going to the grave, going to mystical and all this law. So I just want to try to clarify this. And if somebody in their past life so went down that route and then realized that that is a form of shirk, and can they, in one stage that in Surah Nisa it says, shirk will not be forgiven. So I'm just trying to understand a little bit more about that if you have an answer.
Okay. The thing is, shirk is to be partner with somebody. Sharik is partner. God says, don't make partners with me, means that God is saying, see, God has a physical side, how the winds blow and how the people are born and how they, there is physical laws set by Allah, and that is Allah's domain. Nobody can change those physical laws. What we can change or what we impact is what decisions we make. So Allah wants us to make decisions along the lines which Allah has guided us to. And when he is talking about shirk, he is talking about making partners with him with this guidance. Allah says that what you will do, you will get the result of it. And you will be rated like that. Kullo darajaten bema amalu. People will be graded according to what they do. And somebody else says, no, you go to this Pir Sahib's kabar and you do something and give some money to this guy and do this thing, and all your sins will be forgiven. So this is what I'm saying. This is shirk because you're following a guidance which is contradictory to Allah's guidance. And therefore, God says that will not be forgiven. But if you did something in the past and you are correcting yourself, man taba wa aslaha, whoever has stopped doing what he was doing and then he corrected his way, they will have no problem, they will have no fear, and they will have nothing to worry about. So you will keep on going in the right direction. So forget about what you did in the past, but do not, for example, do not expect God to punish you from things which you have done in the past if you have walked away from them and you are not going back to them. Don't go and back and go and back. That today I did this, okay, I'll go there and then I'll do forgiveness again. There is no multiple forgiveness. Don't just, if you have done something wrong, and there's nobody in this room or in this Zoom who has not done things wrong. To err is human. So we always make mistakes. Some we do, some we realize, etc. But if I did a mistake and I keep on doing it, and every time I say, like Mullah says, you go to Hajj and become a new man, and then you did whatever, then you go to Hajj again, and then you do this. If nothing else, you go to Jummah prayer and you do 7 extra nafals or do this much tasbih extra, and then you're like a newborn baby. All that type of whatever, I don't want to use a bad word, but that is not what Islam is all about. So that is what God says is shirk. Definitely that will not be forgiven if people are doing that. But the doors of forgiveness from Allah are always open. And if you did something wrong and you want to walk away from it and stay walked away, God says, I accept that. There are many verses in the Quran which say God accepts you if you do something not right. See, this is again what Parvez Sahib used to say, tasriful ayat. On any subject, on any matter, if you really want to do understanding, you have to do. Today, search engines are available. Before, it was difficult. But now you can verses of Quran, you should search them and see what God has said in different places. And a sum total of that will give you the correct answer or almost correct answer. And of course, you can discuss with somebody and maybe if there is a doubt, like a this Zoom meeting or wherever, you can discuss that way. I thought this is how it is, and then this could be resolved, another way, because we're not going to get somebody a guidance from Allah. There is no more Rasul coming, and therefore we are the only people who will understand it and who will pass on the understanding to others.
Thank you
One
very
last
much.
question.
Excellent.
You said about repeating something and then asking to repeat something, but then sometimes you feel that was a part of your weakness, and now you realize because of the bigger knowledge and bigger things, and you just want to remain on that path, because this is something coming like sincerely from deep down your heart. How do you see that?
I didn't got the question correctly. I think I lost.
Another thing you said is people who repeatedly make some kind of a wrongdoing and not for forgiveness. But what I'm saying is, when you reach a point in life where you have a deeper understanding and deeper regrets, how do you see that?
You see, the thing is, repeatedly for me, the question is still not very clear. But if you keep on doing repeated mistakes, the same mistake, not different, same mistake again and again you repent or you say tawbah that I will not do it, then there is something wrong. Then why you keep on repeating that mistake? So I personally have no clear answer of how to guide such a situation. Only I will say keep trying. Don't give up. That's all.
What I'm saying is you reach a point in life where you really sincerely want to go there, and now this is a deep regret, and you want to go to the straight path. I just want to trying to reconcile one of those things.
I don't know how to answer it, but the thing is, if you have a deep regret and you want to go to straight path, go to straight path. Don't hesitate. But the thing is, don't expect others around you to be following that. So it is not that you walk away from your relatives or wife or children that, oh, they're not following, so I'm going to walk away. Not like that. Because you have to, because they are all born in the same society and have come out with certain thinking. And so you have to do this very carefully, because
there's one verse in the Quran which explains everything. Whoever did whatever they did, it says, "Innal hasanat yuzhibna sayyiat."
Yes.
So as long whatever the burais, whatever wrong deeds you have done, doesn't matter. Once you start the amle saleh, the productive work, if that goes higher than your sayyat, if your hasanat becomes more than your sayyat, then you are on the right side.
That's right.
Thank you.
And the good news is what Dr. Hamid has said. Quran has said that for good you have multiplied rewards, while for evil you have an equal evil, or equal effect.
Agar bhari ho gaya to theek hai.
And one has to give oneself time as well. And the time as well, when we start doing good, it takes time to rectify the effects of bad which we have done to ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
In Quran, Allah says, "Man yamal miskala zarratan khairan yara, man yamal miskala zarratan sharran yara." Everything will have its effect. But as Dr. Hamid said, that if the good deeds, amal saleh, overtake your bad deeds, you are okay, you pass.
You pass.
इफ्तिखार भाई आपने सवाल पूछा?
मैंने भी पूछना था एक सवाल
जी। आप एक मिनट, आसन साहब, एक मिनट। इफ्तिखार भाई, आसन साहब से मैं पूछ लेता हूँ क्योंकि इनका हाथ पहले। जी आसन भाई, आप पूछें।
थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर लवली टॉक। क्वेश्चन मेरा जो है वो सॉरी हैज बी इन इंग्लिश। चलो ठीक है, अंग्रेजी में भी
doesn't matter, just say Urdu or English.
Okay, it'll be mixed then, right? You've said that 6/153, that this is his way, meaning that this law that's been sent down to us is Allah's law, and that that his way, the law that govern us, and we should follow it through the law. So that means God himself is limited, or he's governed by the law he's set. Have I heard that right? Is that what you mean?
No, God, see, when God says that this is my way, Rabbi, Salati, God says, Salati Mustaqeema, this is my way, that is, God has said, we said, Ahdana Siratul Mustaqeem. We said, God, guide us to the right path. And God is saying, this is my way to be the right path. So that means this is really for us, because see, Allah's domain and Allah, how He does things, we really don't know much about it. He has just introduced Himself in certain verses about Himself, and that is all. But we do not know how He operates in total. But we know that the guidance which He has given is for human beings, and this is how He has guided us to. It is not that, this is all I understand, that this is His guidance for us to follow so that we can, Siraat al-Lazina Anamta Alaihim. See, this is what we were asking Him, that for way of those people who have been blessed and bestowed bounties in this world, and those people who did not go astray, people who went astray. So we wanted to know their path, and God says, "This is my path. Do take these things, and you will be on the right path. Don't go here and there and try to find things which are deviating." My path means not necessarily that God is doing the justice to parents and doing this or that. No, God is beyond that. Allah is beyond that.
Well, the reason I asked that question is because God says in the Quran that He does not need a consortium when He talks about Isa alayhi Islam. So does that mean that the law that has been sent to us is also He obeys His law, as He says, Siraat al-Mustaqeem, this is my way. So I follow that way, that I am following the law. So you do the same.
Yes,
Otherwise,
that's correct. Because Allah has
that's
said,
my point.
Allah has said elsewhere, "Kana wa'dallah mas'ula." God says that even whatever I have promised you, you can question me if I don't follow that. If God says, "I will give you this reward," He will give you. If He doesn't give you, then He says, "My promises, wa'dallah hai, kana wa'dallah mas'ula." Now there are four hands. Please let's go to them. Robina, Khwaja.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question.
Yeah.
This is Afia Faruqi. My father, Khalid Faruqi, is in this meeting as well. I had a question that you explained Rahman and Rahim. If you could explain it a little bit further, what's the difference between both of these words?
Okay. The Mada of Raham, Re, He, Mim, it is the uterus. Now, God has given example of the uterus where how a newborn baby develops, and it gets protection from all sides, and it gets the nourishment it needs in a timely way, where needs, how much it needs, etc. So Rahim is that God, or that the attribute of God which provides for us for all our needs all the time. But sometimes we have extraordinary needs, and we have emergencies, and that emergencies need to be fulfilled, and there are emergent needs, and that thing is falan. There's a Arabic grammar, you know. So under Arabic grammar, falan is something which happens all of a sudden. Fala, falu, fala. This is the grammar. The words of fail means verb. So fa'il is rahim, which is something which happens all the time, and falan is which happens at an extraordinary emergent way. So Allah says that I will provide you protection and growth and everything, not only on continuous basis, but also on emergent basis. So these are two different attributes of Allah coming from the same root. But the meanings are different. Okay. Let Rabina say, please. She's trying to say for a long time.
Assalamu alaikum. It's a very good talk. And this is the first time. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
We can hear you.
Yes, yes. This is the first time I came to cross about the Muttaqin, the term you told us about. It is collectively. This is a very new concept for me, but it is very good. The things come into align when if we do uh, uh, individually, if we do good deeds and collectively good deeds, the result is very quick. So very good. I have good understanding for this one as well. And answer to Brother Amjad's question about repentance, if we can see the Surah Furqan, where where Allah is studying the attributes of the Badur Rahman, Surah Furqan and Ayah 80 onwards, he will get the clear question.
Okay.
Thank you. Answers.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. जी और जी इफ्तिखार भाई आप पहले अनम्यूट कर लें.
My daughter Sana Ahmed has a question, please.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. So I didn't actually get to participate and listen to the talk today. I had some work, but I'm just catching some of the end of it. So it sounds really, really interesting. My question is, I'm a counseling psychologist, so I work with diverse clients, and recently I've been working with many Muslims. So something I'm seeing that is a reoccurring issue is when I'm working with the South Asian population. So when women marry, obviously there's various marital issues, but what is, because we're talking about being a good human being. So what does a wife do when she's in the marital home with her husband and his parents or his siblings, whoever else is in the home, but she is being ill-treated by the in-laws and having issues? So if somebody genuinely tries, a wife goes in to make relations and make, a place for herself in the home, but actually she's being taken advantage of or she's being ill-treated. So what does a good human being, a good wife do in this kind of situation? Because as I said, I'm seeing this so much. Thank you.
The thing is, I'm not a marriage counselor, and it has to be decided according to the laws of the country where you're living. Now, in England, there are laws regarding this, and there's no reason for a wife to be abused, and there's no reason because she's a wife, therefore her husband's parents, they abuse her. This is absolutely not acceptable by my standard, and I'm sure not by UK standards. And I would say that if she needs to take help, and if these people do not find a way forward or a common ground, then she should seek legal help and preserve her rights. If you are under duress and you have to live all your life under duress, that is not the way to live. You have to be free and living on the terms which you came, how you were living before in your parents' home. And nobody should put people in duress. So that's my personal opinion, but I am not a UK citizen and I do not know the social laws. But you can, that is how it is.
Yeah, gee, I was just more so wanting to understand from an Islamic perspective, your point about understanding the country you reside in. That's absolutely essential, and that's a valid fact. But in terms of just some sort of Islamic perspective and understanding, regardless of where you're residing.
I think for me, I have no answer for this because really this is a complex issue, and maybe Ajaz Saab can answer.
I've come across a few issues, and let me make it very, very blunt. Yeah. Number one is that all these ladies should join through Islam first. Read the books, honestly. Why I say that? The reason is that the way women has been treated, and in What is Islam, chapter 17 is outstanding. The ladies must read that chapter. Woman is not a slave. She has come into this world through her own right. She possesses exactly the same self as men. and she is an equal creation of Allah, and she is entitled to her own hereafter as anyone else, number one. Number two, the problem is culture. Women think that somehow they have got married and getting out of this abused relationship is going to cause them a problem or a bad name. What Quran does is it gives you that kind of a strength where you understand your own significance. And that is absolutely essential. There is no point in sticking into that. If they have a job, particularly in the West, they are well supported. They should try to stand on their own feet and get over it. And do not accept this bullying or slavery or anything like that. Of course, where they are tied up into a bad, economic relationship, they might have to, bear it for a while, but they must use their intellect or reasoning and see how to get out of it. And at the same time, read the Quran, read the books of the new Islam, and see if they provide strength to them. And they should, if possible, they should join these Zoom meetings as well, because this is where we hear the strength of conviction of others. And this helps. They are going to end up either having cancer or some other problems later on, and in an abusive relationship, it's just not acceptable. No one has a right to hurt your feelings or treat you as an unequal human beings or as a slave. And my own advice is stand up for your rights. And you will see that this is bullying. This is frankly bullying, and that bullying shouldn't be accepted.
Agreed.
And that will have an effect on their children as well. I came across a case, I don't want to refer it, and few others as well, where my advice was, and Alhamdulillah, people have benefited from that. Because Allah is watching. If He is everywhere, then we have to stand up to seek His help. If we don't seek His help, and now we are providing a platform, there are books available, there are audios available, there are videos available, and now the members are armed. We can phone up individually as well and seek advice. But do not punish yourself. This life is not a punishment from Allah, it is a blessing. Each one of us is created in our own right, and we are accountable for our own deeds. Warn your husbands, tell the in-laws as well that I haven't come into, my parents didn't bring me into this life to become your slaves. And that is the bottom line we must decide. Don't ruin your this life and don't ruin your hereafter as well. So get out of that relationship as soon as possible if things don't work. Try to work it, give them a message of the new Islam, give them what is Islam and see what they say. And don't be scared. People who follow Allah's path, they are not fearful of anything. They just stick to the path. As brother said, Mustaqeem is the one who sticks to that path. And that is why this platform is extremely important. I tell everyone, make an effort to join it. Don't wait for videos to come out and read it. The warmth of coming together is totally different. The effort we make, that helps to develop ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Uncle. And I'm sure I will also love to give a talk, one day. And these are some issues that we can delve into on a deeper level, very, very much needed. In our own homes, what's going on in our own communities, the whole Muslim Ummah. So thank you so much, Uncle.
Welcome. It's good you came over here, and same with Brother Amjad and Ihsan and you and others. It's excellent because I was not expecting these questions, very frankly. Any other question, please?
Sorry, that was Dr. Sana's question. I have my own. My question is, it's more of a comment. Because Islamic deen is not prevailing at the moment anywhere in the world, we are living under democracy, dictatorships, or socialism or communism, and mostly capitalism. Aren't we participating in shirk forcefully?
This is the question you have?
That's
the thing is, okay, wherever you are living, first of all, you are living there by choice or you're forced to live there? If you're living by choice, then you have to follow the laws of their country, because you cannot start deviating from this that I will not pay tax because of this is shirk, or I will not do this because this is shirk. The society, wherever you're living, you must live by those laws. And then try to correct yourself that how that I will do the correct thing under these circumstances. That does not mean you don't pay income tax. That does not mean you don't do your duties diligently. All that you have to do. And if you feel that this is not for, and you have another place where you can go because there's limitations on immigration, everybody wants to go to New Zealand. You cannot go to New Zealand. So you have to find ways where you can go if you want. Otherwise, oh, I want to be a good Muslim, therefore I'll break the laws of the country where I'm living is not acceptable. But within those laws, try to live within the norms which Allah has prescribed, and that is how you should go forward. Because, of course, whatever we do, for example, I live in Kuwait, there is a Kuwaiti laws. There, you think they are all according to Quran? No, but we have to live by them. There is no other way. Otherwise, I have a free choice. I can just get out of here because there is every country have their own laws. You think the American or family member and others who are living under Trump and his sense of justice, is that the fair way of living? No, they are all opposed to it. But that is a process they have that how you can change the laws and how you can follow. So the thing is, chaos will be created if everybody takes the law in their own hand in their society. So therefore, you have to follow it in a sensible way. And I mean, God is forgiving, and you know, He knows it is not shirk. It is that you are living there, and these are the laws. This is not shirk. Shirk is what you intentionally decide that, okay, I'm going to ask this graveyard to tell me how to do the things right rather than ask the Quran that let's see what Allah has to say. Things which you do willingly, anything you don't do willingly because you're living in a place and you follow the laws is not shirk.
Okay,
In my
great.
opinion.
Thank you very much. Ubed bhai, are you okay for time? Because there are a couple of more questions and I think then we can conclude the meeting. Is that okay?
Another 10 minutes or 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have Brother Tawfiq wants to ask a question
Okay.
from Canada. Brother Tawfiq.
Assalamualaikum, Dr. मेरा ख्याल है Asfa was waiting before me. Maybe she should be given a chance first.
I'll give her a chance after you now, since you are.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Badbhai. Very nice and concise talk and very important subject. My understanding a little bit more, please correct me if I'm, on a different side of it. For us to follow Siraat Mustaqeem, the purpose for us to follow Siraat Mustaqeem is because for us to develop a personality, we human beings have a personality that we need to develop in this world by the guidance. And for us to model, that personality needs the model. And that model is the higher personality, which is the personality of Allah himself, which it says in the Quran too, in a allegorical way, Sibagatullah, that we have to, follow his
color of Allah.
Color of Allah. We have to assimilate that. So for us to follow Allah, we need to be on Siraat Mustaqeem. And since He is our model, He himself in Surah Hud has mentioned ayah 56 that Inna Rabbi Allah Siraat Mustaqeem. That Allah itself is on Siraat Mustaqeem. Therefore, we also have to be on the Siraat Mustaqeem for us to develop our personality and follow in the same direction. So this is my comment based on your.
No, this is correct. What you have said is absolutely correct. Therefore, I presented these verses from Surah Al-An'am, which says, God says that this is my Siraat Mustaqeem. So in a way, God is telling you things which He thinks is the correct way to follow for human beings. So that is how you follow Siraat Mustaqeem. How to follow Allah is not just by talking about it, it is by doing things. And these are God, in these two verses, God has given, say, 9 bullet points as that for Allah thinks that they are most critical the way He has described it. And He starts with shirk as the first thing and continues till the end to justice and justice for all. So he has laid down a paperwork. Of course, there are other verses I told you before in the talk that which are talking about Siraat al-Mustaqeem on one or two items, but not comprehensively the way this is. And since, I mean, the talk has a limited time, I did not want to go for 2-hour talk. I wanted to, my idea was to finish it in half hour or 35 minutes. And actually, I had kept a clock with me so that I don't exceed. So I follow the time because no sense talking all your mind off and you can keep on talking and then there's no time for discussion or people can only take you so much, because so that is how you have to. I mean, Siraat al-Mustaqeem otherwise has other references I could have given. Muttaqeen, there is other references I could have given.
There is a last question from Afia.
Okay.
Ji, Afia, पूछ ले.
Assalamu alaikum. I think I already asked my question before. That was the question. I raised my hand.
Oh, right, that was the one. Okay. Should we?
The difference between Rahman and Rahim. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much. That's great. Should we call it a day now as far as this meeting is concerned? Thank you very much, Ubed bhai. It's brilliant. And
Thank
we
you.
look forward to, inshallah, have.
So if you can send the recording to Arif,
we will.
Then Arif can share it with the family also.
No, it will be. It will be. What I will do is I will look at it and edit a bit and then share it with everyone.